Thank you. So I think what we've learned this week, at least me, since people asked me to look into this, is that we have revised our expectations downwards by half. That's something that we've learned over this learning phase. And I've also learned that we are still in a commissioning phase. We've not really turned the plant loose for any reasonably long period of time with the goal of actually producing water like we need to depend on it for the next number of decades. So do we really have enough actual operational experience to conclude that the present ASR system works at its half design, you know, the new halfway expectations? Much less are we confident that this is what we need to throw our $250 million nest egg into for the future.
And I'll take the first shot at that, Mr. Weeks. Part of the commissioning effort is not only to make sure that everything works and so that the contractors get paid, but also to test all of the assumptions that go into predicting how much water is going to be produced. And what we do is we look at individual components of the system. So for example, the treatment capacity, it's based on the ability to treat 30 million gallons a day. At that capacity, that was tested. We actually ran the treatment plant for some period of time at the full 30 million gallons a day. The amount of water that can be pushed through the transmission system, that was tested to make sure that that was accurate. The amount of water that could be pushed into wells or absorbed into the ground through recharge basins, that was tested. Probably the trickiest part was how many days is the water actually going to be available? We looked at river gauge data and compared that in the original assumptions to what we are actually experiencing. And also we looked at what the actual chemical content of the water is. We're limited, even when the water's there, if the chemistry is not right, if we have I'm sorry, am I being loud enough here? If the chemistry is not right, if the bromide level is too high, or the atrazine level is too high, those days we can't pull the water and treat it. So that limits the number of days. During this commissioning process, we looked at all of the assumptions that go into knowing that verifying that the estimates are accurate. I got to say that we took kind of a bold step, I think, in that we confronted the brutal facts. We confronted the realities that the original estimates, and that's all they were estimates, were too high. And that as part of the commissioning process and in learning what we needed to learn in running the treatment plant and shaking everything out, is that we needed to reduce significantly the amount of estimated production. I believe that we're at a point now that through the commissioning process that we have verified the assumptions that go into the predictions, the revised lower estimates of the treatment plant. And we're not going to really know probably for another 10 years. When you look at those averages, those estimates, that's a 10-year average. We're really at the mercy of the weather, like Ty was talking about right after we built it and constructed it. It sat without running for 2+ years because of the drought. So I guess the best answer to your question, Mr. Weeks, is that everything you've said is correct, and the best response that I can give is in the commissioning process, we actually tested those parts of our assumptions that go into the reduced estimated production.